Small protests were staged outside multiple Indian diplomatic missions in Canada on Monday. About 100 protesters burned the Indian flag and struck a cardboard cutout of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The protesters were also seen carrying flags of the Khalistani separatist movement. Last week, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Indian agents may be involved in the murder of pro-Khalistan separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The Speaker of Canada's House of Commons has apologized to the chamber. This is for praising an individual at a parliamentary meeting who served in a Nazi unit during World War II. Last week, Speaker Anthony Rota recognized 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka as a Ukrainian hero before the Canadian Parliament. After this, Jewish human rights groups demanded an apology from Canada. Admiral Viktor Sokolov, the commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, has been killed. This is according to Ukraine's special forces. They said he was killed last week during a Ukrainian attack on the fleet headquarters in the Crimean port of Sevastopol. However, the Russian Defense Ministry has neither confirmed nor denied Sokolov's death. South Korea hosted senior diplomats from China and Japan in a rare trilateral meeting. The meeting aimed to set the stage for the resumption of three-way summits between the countries' leaders. This comes amid Japan and South Korea's tightening cooperation between themselves and the US. The Philippines says it has executed a special operation to remove a floating barrier in the South China Sea. The Philippines had accused China of installing the barrier. A long ball buoy barrier was installed in a disputed area of the sea called the Scarborough Shoal. Footage released by the Philippine Coast Guard also showed several Chinese vessels near the barrier. Manila said this prevented Filipino fishermen from entering the area. A large fire broke out after an explosion at a gas storage depot in Nagorno-Karabakh. Local reports say the incident has left 20 dead and has injured more than 290 people. The majority of the victims were in severe or extremely severe conditions. It was not immediately clear what caused the blast. Nagorno-Karabakh is a disputed area in Azerbaijan, which is home to mostly ethnic Armenian people. Tensions have flared up in the region after Azerbaijan reclaimed full control of it last week. Police moved in to secure and search a village in North Kosovo on Monday. They searched houses and looked for armed men. The Kosovo police recovered a cache of weapons and military equipment during the operation. The operation comes after a shootout between Kosovar police and ethnic Serb gunmen, which took place over the weekend. 3 attackers and 1 police officer died in the gunfight. Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met with United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. They met on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. Jaishankar said they spoke about how India's G20 presidency has contributed to strengthening the UN's Sustainable Development Agenda. They also spoke about possible reforms for international financial institutions like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Jaishankar is scheduled to give his general debate speech to the United Nations General Assembly later today. US President Joe Biden is hosting leaders from Pacific Island nations at the White House for a summit. Yesterday, the US established diplomatic relations with the Pacific Island countries, Cook Islands and Niue. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken also signed agreements with prime ministers from both nations. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller has called an attack on the Cuban embassy unacceptable. This was after an assailant attacked the Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C. with Molotov cocktails over the weekend. The attack occurred just hours after Cuba's leader Miguel Diaz-Canel returned to the island post-United Nations General Assembly. The Mexican government has sent over 1,500 security officials, including the National Guard, Army and police, to the country's south. This is to tighten security in the area amid rising crime. This comes after a video from southern Mexico went viral over the weekend. The video showed a convoy of armed drug cartel members being applauded by local residents for driving out a rival cartel. Ronson Chan, the head of Hong Kong's leading journalists group, has been sentenced to 5 days in jail. This is for obstructing police officers in September last year. Chan was detained and handcuffed by 2 officers while covering a story after he failed to hand over his personal identity card. He also had to surrender his travel documents and now cannot leave Hong Kong. Arnon Nampa, a prominent activist and lawyer from Thailand, has been sentenced to 4 years in prison. Arnon is famous for his open calls for reform of Thailand's powerful monarchy. Thailand has a stringent law that shields the palace from criticism. It carries a maximum prison sentence of 15 years for insulting the Thai monarchy. In climate news, an intense storm struck the South African city of Cape Town yesterday. Officials say several people are missing and search operations are underway. Heavy rainfall also brought flash floods and damaged houses and buildings. Officials have issued a warning indicating the possibility of further flooding. Heavy rainfall caused a river to break its banks in the Central American nation of Guatemala. Officials say at least 6 people were killed after several homes were swept away by flash floods. Almost 15 people are still missing as rescue operations are underway. Residents in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro cooled off in swimming pools amid an ongoing heat wave. Temperatures have touched 41 degrees Celsius despite it being winter in Brazil. Officials have advised residents to limit outdoor activity. Brazil has been facing a winter heat wave for over a week now. Chile has raised an amber alert around areas near the volcano Villarrica. An amber alert means there's a greater possibility of an eruption. The alert was issued after an increase in volcanic activity was noticed. Villarrica last erupted in 2015, prompting the evacuation of thousands of residents. Scientists say that ice around Antarctica will hit record low levels this winter. They added that the impact of global warming was ramping up at the South Pole. Researchers warn that the decline in ice can have dire consequences for animals like penguins. French President Emmanuel Macron unveiled a new ecological plan worth almost $9 billion yesterday. Macron says the purpose of the plan is to reduce greenhouse emissions in France by 55%. Macron added that France will end the use of coal for producing electricity by 2030. Australia is on track to add 3 gigawatts of rooftop solar capacity in residential buildings to its electricity grid. At least 160,000 households got rooftop solar systems this year. Australia says the demand for residential solar panel systems has risen by almost 40%. Now on to business and tech news. US President Joe Biden has said that the black community would suffer the most in case of a government shutdown. This can happen if the US Congress does not provide a funding plan before September 30th. Congress must approve new spending bills before that deadline. Failing to do this can cause large swathes of the US government to temporarily close on October 1st. Meanwhile, Biden said he supports America's United Auto Workers Union strike against the Detroit 3 automakers. Biden added that the UAW workers should benefit from the industry's rekindling growth post the pandemic slump. On September 15th, the union began their strikes against Ford, General Motors and Stellantis. They've been demanding a pay hike of 40%. Reports say the US markets regulator is collecting thousands of messages from the staff of more than a dozen investment companies. These included conversations via platforms like WhatsApp, Signal, and other messengers. This comes as the Securities and Exchange Commission escalates its probe into the use of private messaging apps for official work. Authorities in China have reportedly ordered a senior banker at financial firm Nomura Holdings to not leave the country. Charles Wang Zhonghe has been given the exit ban. He's the investment banking chairman of Nomura's China business. It is not immediately clear when the exit ban was put in place. The pilots' union at Australia's Qantas Airways has demanded that the company's chairman Richard Goyder resign. The Australian and International Pilot Association has written to the airline's new CEO, Vanessa Hudson, regarding the issue. The AIPA represents most of Qantas's roughly 3,000 pilots. Their demand for Goyder's resignation comes as Qantas finds itself embroiled in a host of scandals. Amazon executive Dave Limp will take over as the CEO of Jeff Bezos' space company, Blue Origin. This comes after its present chief, Bob Smith, steps down at the end of the year. Limp will take over his new role on December 4th. He was a former senior vice president at Amazon who led the company's consumer devices unit. Amazon Prime Video has said that it'll roll out advertisements on its platform from next year. The US tech giant said that ads would be introduced in the US, the UK, Germany, and Canada in early 2024. They'll then be expanded to France, Italy, Spain, Mexico, and Australia later in the year. Amazon has also said that it will hike the prices of its ad-free subscriptions. Amazon says it will invest up to $4 billion in the artificial intelligence startup Anthropic. As part of the deal, Amazon's employees and cloud customers will gain early access to Anthropic's technology. This comes as rivals like Microsoft and Google are also strengthening their foothold in the AI sector. OpenAI's ChatGPT is due to get a major update. This will enable the chatbot to have voice conversations with users and interact using images. With this, ChatGPT is now expected to compete with the likes of Apple's Siri and Amazon's Alexa. The Spanish prosecutor has said that the country will probe explicit images of teenage girls that were generated using artificial intelligence. These were allegedly created and shared by the teenagers' peers. The prosecutor received around 20 complaints from families denouncing the fake pictures of their daughters. The case has reignited concerns over the potential misuse of AI. Moving to sports, let's start with Asian Games updates. India beat Singapore 16-1 in the men's hockey game. Harmanpreet Singh was the highest scorer for the men in blue with 4 goals. India will next play Japan on Thursday. India's men's 4x100 meters medley swimming team put up a sensational performance at the Asian Games. The quartet finished second in their heat with a timing of 3 minutes 40 seconds. They're now through to the final race of the men's 4x100 meters medley race. Naorem Roshebina Devi has secured a medal for India in the martial arts sport wushu. Devi beat her opponent from Kazakhstan through a points difference in yesterday's match. She has now qualified for the semi-final in the women's 60-kilogram category. Devi is assured of at least a bronze medal in the Asian Games. Moving on to other sports now, in cricket, Pakistan's cricket squad were issued visas to travel to India yesterday. The Pakistan team will arrive in India tomorrow for the Cricket One-Day International World Cup. Pakistan will play their first warm-up match against New Zealand on Friday in the Indian city of Hyderabad. Sri Lankan all-rounder Wanindu Hasaranga is likely to miss the Cricket World Cup. The team's doctor says Hasaranga has not yet recovered from a hamstring injury that he suffered last month. Hasaranga's absence would be a major setback for Sri Lanka. He was the leading wicket taker for his team in the last two T20 World Cups. In football, the US women's team beat South Africa 2-0 in yesterday's match. The game was an emotional one as the US squad bid farewell to their star player, Megan Rapinoe. The 38-year-old striker played international football for 17 years. She played for the US national team in 203 games and scored 63 goals. Rapinoe also captained the American team when they won the 2015 and 2019 Women's World Cups. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has confirmed that midfielder Declan Rice has suffered a back injury. Arteta added that further assessments on the severity of the injury were being made. Rice has now become the fifth big player in Arsenal to be injured this season in a big setback for the Gunners. In Ligue 1, host Paris Saint-Germain beat Marseille 4-0 in yesterday's match. Achraf Hakimi scored early in the 8th minute to give PSG the lead. In the 23rd, striker Kylian Mbappe suffered an ankle injury and was forced off the field. Before half-time, PSG increased their lead with a goal in the 37th. In the second half, Goncalo Ramos, who replaced Mbappe, scored a double for PSG as they put up a commanding display. MotoGP riders say they're happy with their experience in India. The Grand Prix of India winner Marco Bezzecchi says he really liked the track in India. He lauded the Indian fans and said that he really enjoyed how loud they were. Marco Bezzecchi was the winner of the inaugural Grand Prix of India, which took place on Sunday. In golf, Bryson DeChambeau won the Live Golf Chicago title. He beat India's Anirban Lahiri by one shot to clinch the title. Along with the trophy, the American took home a cash prize of over $4 million. This is DeChambeau's second Live Golf win. He also won the Live Golf Greenbrier in August. In entertainment news, the makers of Dancing with the Stars have decided to move ahead with their TV show's premiere today. This comes after the WGA reached a tentative agreement with studios to end their ongoing strike. Talk shows like The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel Live may also resume within days. The Writers Guild of America, or WGA, have been on strike since May this year. The Hollywood Screen Actors Guild, called the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG-AFTRA, has now voted to strike against video game companies. The SAG-AFTRA members plan to strike against 10 video game companies. Over 98% of the members voted in favor of the strike. The SAG-AFTRA president said that the companies need to stop playing games and get serious about negotiations. SAG-AFTRA has been on a strike against the TV and film industry since July this year. American actors Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis settled their child custody case on Monday. According to reports, they will share joint custody of their two children. Sudeikis has reportedly been ordered to pay over $27,000 to Wilde for child support. Wilde and Sudeikis met at a party in 2011 and got engaged the same year. The couple decided to part ways in 2020. A temporary agreement has been reached in the ongoing custody battle between English actor Sophie Turner and American singer Joe Jonas. Turner and Jonas have made the decision to keep their two daughters in New York City. The reports come days after Turner lodged a complaint against Jonas, saying that he has wrongfully retained her daughters by withholding their passports. Earlier this month, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner decided to separate after 4 years of marriage. English actor Kate Beckinsale has confronted cyber trolls who've targeted her online. In a statement shared on social media, the 50-year-old actress disclosed the persistent bullying she faces. Beckinsale's detailed social media post serves as a powerful response to her harassers, particularly addressing male offenders. The actor also expressed her gratitude for the overwhelming support she's received. Emma Hemming, the wife of American actor Bruce Willis, publicly spoke about his dementia for the first time. Hemming was on a TV show ahead of World Frontotemporal Dementia Awareness Week. Emma said that dementia is hard and she doesn't know if Willis is aware of what's happening to him. Hemming said, and I quote, "It's hard to know." Willis was diagnosed with dementia earlier this year. After the diagnosis, Willis decided to take a step back from acting. Driver Ryan Coase pleads not guilty in the American actor Treat Williams' death case. Coase's car allegedly collided with Williams' bike in the town of Dorset in the U.S. state of Vermont on June 12th this year. 35-year-old Coase had been charged for negligent driving that led to the actor's death. Actor Treat Williams was known for his roles in Hair and Everwood. On Monday, the Metropolitan Police of London said they are looking into multiple sexual assault complaints against comedian Russell Brand. These complaints were received after 4 women alleged that Brand had sexually assaulted, raped and emotionally abused them. The 48-year-old British actor had dismissed these claims after the reports went viral. Brand said in a video that all these relationships were consensual. Scottish actor David McCallum passed away on Monday at the New York Presbyterian Hospital. He was 90 years old and died due to natural causes. McCallum rose to fame in the 1960s with his role as a Russian spy in the show The Man from U.N.C.L.E. 40 years later, McCallum found stardom again as an eccentric doctor on the series NCIS. English singer Adele recently said that she is not a great wife when it comes to football. She said this at her concert called On Weekends with Adele. This further fuels marriage rumors to her partner, Rich Paul. It comes days after the singer said in another concert that "My husband is here tonight."